iShowSpeed has done it again. He has gone viral touring yet another continent. But what you are not aware of is the speed at which he is going viral, showcasing this time the Caribbean continent. And this could boost and rebuild the economy for these Caribbean countries. And this is how. As you can see, iShowSpeed is showing in real life what different Caribbean countries and cultures are. This is a cause of more than a celebration. Starting with Trinidad and Tobago, set the rhythm of his Caribbean tour. This is not only rebuilding the economy, it is creating a new economic blueprint. The rise. To understand the iShowSpeed creating an economic blueprint for modern Caribbean countries, you have to look past the barking and the backflips. You have to look at the infrastructure of attention. For decades, the Caribbean economy has been a go-to destination to the legacy tourism model. Massive, slow-moving cruise lines and high-end resorts, and wedding events mainly in Jamaica, the Bahamas, and Barbados. That often results in significant capital flight. And if you are Black and from the diaspora, you know just how expensive travel can be. But in April 2026, iShowSpeed introduced a new variable into the regional fiscal equation: high-frequency viral tourism, whether intentionally or not. Just him being a real tourist of other Caribbean countries like Guadeloupe getting attention speaks volumes long-term, not just in the short term. So the rise of this iShowSpeed empire didn't begin with a flight to Port of Spain. It began with the aggressive acquisition of digital real estate. By the time Speed landed in Trinidad and Tobago, he wasn't just a YouTuber, he was a mobile special economic zone. His rise is defined by a shift from content creation to sovereign branding. In the world of finance, branding is usually an intangible asset, but for Speed, it is a liquid one. He went from streaming in his room to doing side quests to visiting other countries, including his African tour. And he is only 21 years old. Therefore, when he touched down in Trinidad, the market response was instantaneous. This wasn't a standard celebrity appearance. It was a live-streamed macroeconomic event. By showcasing the local rhythm, the street food, and the cultural nuances of the Twin Island Republic to a global audience of over 50 million, Speed was effectively conducting a 24-hour global marketing roadshow that no government-funded tourism board could afford. The strategy here is what economists call direct-to-consumer diplomacy. Traditionally, a country like Trinidad and Tobago would spend millions of dollars in a multi-year cycle to attract foreign direct investment or high-net-worth travelers. Speed bypassed this entire bureaucratic infrastructure. Through his partnership with Expedia, he integrated a seamless booking funnel directly into his content. This is the multi-million-dollar business of viral tourism in its purest form. The conversion of a 3-second viral clip into a $1,000 flight booking. But there is a deeper layer to this rise. From a systems awareness lens, Speed is disrupting the dependency theory that has plagued the Caribbean for generations. By using his platform to highlight local entrepreneurs, street vendors, and independent businesses, he is ensuring that the velocity of money remains within the local community. In Barbados, his visit to local landmarks triggered a surge in search volume that outperformed the island's entire quarterly marketing budget in a single afternoon. This isn't just about fame, it's about asset allocation. Speed has realized that his audience isn't just a fan base, they are a market. By positioning himself as the primary narrator of the Caribbean experience, he has created a new economic blueprint. He is the architect of a system where the product is the culture itself, and the payment is a global shift in perception that revalues the entire region. The rise of the Speed empire is the story of how a streamer became a geopolitical lever. He proving that in 2026 and beyond, a single individual with a high retention strategy can outpace the traditional gatekeepers of global trade and tourism. He didn't just join the economy, he began to rebuild it in his own image. You can definitely say this a W for the chat, and most importantly, a W for the Caribbean countries he visits. But as you probably already know, all of this does not come without its challenges. The challenges. The business of viral tourism is a high-stakes venture in attention arbitrage, but it operates within a physical reality that has a fixed absorption capacity. This is the primary bottleneck for the iShowSpeed return on investment. When an entity with a $40 million net worth and 53 million shareholders drops into a localized economy, it creates an economic shock. So you can see that with his natural enthusiasm, it is very much needed. Because in the world of macroeconomics, we look at the elasticity of supply. Can a local market, like Dominica or St. Martin, handle a 10,000% spike in demand within a 24-hour window? As, during the tour, the friction was palpable. In Dominica, the challenge was exacerbated by a $20 million infrastructure deficit caused by seasonal flooding. This highlighted a systemic risk in the new economic blueprint. Digital sovereignty cannot exist without physical resilience. While Speedstream generated an estimated $1.2 million in earned media value (EMV) for the island in just 6 hours, the physical state of the roads acted as a liquidity trap, preventing that attention from converting into immediate local foot traffic, which, in the past, many preferred the beach and resorts. So Speed has indirectly created a new challenge for Caribbean countries and any other country he chooses to visit to ensure their roads are suitable and safe for you and others who wish to travel and add to their economy, even if it's just on pure tourism vibes. Furthermore, there is the challenge of sovereign perception. To the legacy gatekeepers, the tourism boards manage $500 million annual budgets. Speed's unscripted volatility is a threat to their brand equity. They view a chaotic crowd not as engagement, but as a liability that could decrease the premium of their luxury wedding markets in the Bahamas or Jamaica. This creates a geopolitical rift. How do you reconcile a 21-year-old's direct-to-consumer diplomacy with a nation's official public policy? Finally, we must address the exit strategy challenge. In Nigeria, Speed's departure after only 24 hours led to a content cliff, a sharp drop-off in search volume. This is the volatility risk of viral tourism. If the multi-million-dollar business model is built on a one-and-done visit, it risks becoming a digital pump and dump rather than a sustainable rebuilding of the economy. The challenge for the Caribbean is to ensure that the $5 million in projected travel bookings generated results in long-term gross value added, GVA, for local entrepreneurs, rather than just a short-term spike in the algorithm. Or better yet, the challenge is for iShowSpeed to continue to give these countries exposure, because he has his generation following him worldwide, and people will want to eventually travel and experience what he has experienced. This is the type of influence that you cannot buy. The other challenge is for these Caribbean countries to ensure that they now develop further irrespective of neo-colonialism ties, as everyone wins, even the locals, which you can tell leads to turning points. The turning points. The turning point for the iShowSpeed empire occurred the moment the global travel industry realized that iShowSpeed was not barking mad. His ability to go viral and reach certain numbers even in chaotic moments, it was a feature. In the world of capital markets, an asset is only as good as its liquidity. For years, Caribbean tourism was a frozen asset, locked behind expensive travel agencies and stagnant government brochures. The pivot began when Expedia, a travel conglomerate with a $17 billion market cap, decided to institutionalize Speed's viral tourism. By launching the Expedia partnership, the industry shifted from passive observation to active strategic investment. This was the birth of the rise of sovereign branding. For the first time, a major financial player wasn't betting on a destination. They were betting on a narrative architect. The data was undeniable. In nations like Grenada and St. Kitts, the Speed effect generated a $5 million projected surge in travel intent within a single fiscal quarter. But the true turning point wasn't just financial. It was geopolitical. When Speed landed in Dominica during a period of environmental crisis, the economic blueprint evolved from marketing to philanthropy and direct stimulus. By pledging the revenue from his live stream, an estimated $250,000 to $500,000 in super chats and AdSense to flood victims, Speed bypassed the traditional, slow-moving channels of international aid. This is digital sovereignty in action. He proved that a creator can provide faster, emergency liquidity to a Caribbean nation than many global NGOs. This redirected the power dynamics of the region. Local governments, initially wary of the unscripted volatility, began to see Speed as a soft power asset. In Trinidad, the turning point was the realization that Speed's direct-to-consumer diplomacy was reaching a demographic, Gen Z and Alpha, that traditional public policy had completely ignored. The Caribbean is no longer just a backdrop for Western vacationers. Through Speed's lens, it has become a market of heritage. The turning point proved that if you align a creator's high-retention strategy with a nation's infrastructure goals, you create a W that is both culturally authentic and economically transformative. The era of legacy tourism is fading, replaced by a blueprint where the sovereign brand of a single individual can revalue an entire country, let alone the tourism industry. But none of this appears without having strategies. Because, on the outside, it looks like iShowSpeed might not be strategic, but he has proven people wrong. So, what strategies do you think he put in place other than initiating a tour of the Caribbean countries? The strategies. As you can tell by now, if you are just casually scrolling and seeing clips or catch him live stream, the iShowSpeed empire looks like a series of randomness. But when we apply a business and economics lens, we see a highly sophisticated market entry strategy. The core of Speed's success isn't just showing up. It is a calculated deployment of attention capital through three specific strategic pillars. First, Speed utilizes high-frequency geography. During his April 2026 Caribbean tour, he executed a blitzkrieg maneuver, often visiting and streaming from 4 different countries in a single 24-hour cycle, including Dominica, Guadeloupe, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Martin. In the world of infrastructure and logistics, this is an incredible feat of supply chain management. By hitting multiple markets in rapid succession, he creates a scarcity model. Each country gets a concentrated burst of global attention, driving up the earned media value, EMV, while keeping his production overhead, which can exceed $50,000 per day for high-end security and private transport, at a sustainable level. Even Young Spray from RTM Podcast has acknowledged that this is great exposure for Dominica. Do you see the knock-on effect? An American goes to visit Caribbean countries like Dominica and streams it. Someone from Dominica, but lives in the diaspora who has an ever-growing platform and speaks on it. This could lead to other things. Like Young Spray could end up starting a business in his homeland. Who knows? The point is that you never know what can happen when you have a simple strategy, as that can lead to other strategies that achieve other goals. So, therefore, the second is the strategy of hyperlocal integration. Speed doesn't stay in the 5-star resorts that defined the legacy tourism model. He goes directly into the markets, the local gyms, and the street corners. From a public policy standpoint, this is a masterclass in direct-to-consumer diplomacy. By interacting with the local youth and independent vendors, he ensures his sovereign brand is rooted in authenticity rather than tourist traps. This is why his return on investment is so high. He isn't just marketing a beach. He is marketing the human capital of the Caribbean. Thirdly, and perhaps most importantly, is his cross-platform synergy. Speed's partnership with Expedia isn't just a logo on a screen. It is a financial funnel. By leveraging real-time data and the Expedia portal, he converts the dopamine loop of a viral stream into a transactional event. This is the new economic blueprint for the Caribbean, using a creator as the front end of a massive e-commerce and travel infrastructure. Finally, there is the strategic philanthropy you saw in Dominica. By donating $500,000 in stream revenue, he didn't just help a nation, he solidified his brand equity. He proved that the business of viral tourism can act as a stabilization fund for developing economies. Speed isn't just a tourist, he is a strategic partner for every nation he visits. Not just a random celebrity making a donation for PR, but out of the kindest of his heart. So, with all this said, let me know what are the lessons you can see, feel, and learn? As by now, you see that the iShowSpeed empire offers a masterclass in psychological market entry, but the deeper insight is about the shifting nature of power dynamics in a $5 trillion global tourism market. If you are very ambitious, the lesson is clear. Attention is the modern gold standard. In the past, institutional power was held by those who controlled the land or the physical capital. Today, power is held by those who control the digital narrative. By applying a systems awareness lens, you can see that Speed has mastered the art of permissionless growth. He didn't wait for a Caribbean tourism board to invite him. He leveraged his $40 million net worth to create a market where they had no choice but to facilitate him. This is a vital lesson in career strategy. Don't wait for a seat at the legacy table when you can build an entire digital portfolio yourself. There is also a profound lesson in identity and ambition. Speed is a 21-year-old Black creator navigating a global stage that was historically designed to exclude him. Yet, he is using sovereign branding to revalue his own heritage and the heritage of the diaspora. From a business perspective, this is niche supremacy. By donating $1.2 million in earned media value, EMV, and permanent brand equity, the psychological insight here is that radical authenticity is a high-margin product. In a world of polished corporate lies, Speed's unscripted moments build trust equity with 53 million people. Finally, look at the principle of the velocity of money. Speed's strategy of hyperlocal integration teaches us that true wealth is created when capital stays within a community. By bypassing the typical $500 a night resorts to spend money with local vendors, he is demonstrating economic empathy. The takeaway is simple. If you can learn to value human capital as much as you value the return on investment, you don't just build a business. You build a legacy that generates sustainable rebuilding of real democracy and real wealth for everyone involved. So, before you choose what lessons you will implement, it's time to recap, because one thing for certain is that this is 100% an empowering yet emotional journey, and here's how and why. As there is a profound, almost poetic irony at the heart of the iShowSpeed empire. To truly feel the weight of this journey, you have to look through to understand what Black people have been going through during colonialism and during neocolonialism. For centuries, these islands were defined by a different kind of extraction, where wealth, culture, and labor were siphoned off to build empires elsewhere. But in April 2026, the script flipped. Watching a 21-year-old Black man from Ohio, in the United States, walk through the streets of Trinidad, Guadeloupe, Dominica, and St. Kitts is not just about content. It is a visual representation of digital reparations. When Speed stands in a local market, surrounded by thousands of fans who see themselves in his success, the tension isn't just about the crowd. It's about the breaking of a colonial glass ceiling. For years, the narrative of these islands was controlled by legacy media giants with multi-billion-dollar valuations. Now, that power sits in the palm of a young man's hand. The emotional peak of the tour came in Dominica, amidst the wreckage of a $500,000 lifeline. The emotion in that moment wasn't just about the money. It was the psychological triumph of seeing one of our own become the lenders of last resort when traditional systems failed. It is the irony of a streamer providing faster relief than a global NGO. This is the W that the chat and the Caribbeans talk about, but on a systemic level. It is the feeling of pride that comes when human capital is finally valued over corporate real estate. Speed's journey is a massive reminder that you are no longer just the background of someone else's vacation. You are the architects. You are the owners. Especially if you are Black or from the Caribbean. As Speed hits that 53 million subscriber mark on Caribbean soil, the message is clear. The most valuable thing you can own is your own story. That is the true return on investment. You have the gift of discovery. You can feel every weight of emotions finally lifted. So with that said, what do you think the principle of all this is? The principle? Well, let's think about this for a moment. The ultimate principle of the iShowSpeed travel empire is this. In the 21st century, sovereignty is no longer just a legal status. It is a financial asset. You have seen how it is deconstructed the multi-million-dollar business of viral tourism, and how a 21-year-old redirected a portion of a $5 trillion industry using nothing but a camera and high-retention strategy. But the core principle you must take away is the shift from participation to ownership. For decades, the Caribbean and the wider Black diaspora have been participants in a global economy that valued their labor but ignored their digital sovereignty. Speed has proven that when you own the narrative, you own the market entry. The principle of sovereign branding dictates that your value is not determined by an employer, a legacy media house, or a $17 billion corporation like Expedia. Your value is determined by the trust equity you build with your community. When Speed bypasses the $500 a night resorts to invest $500,000 directly into the hands of the people, he is applying the principle of strategic alignment. He is aligning his personal brand with the human capital of a nation. For you, the principle is permissionless infrastructure. You do not need a multi-million-dollar marketing budget to rebuild an economy. You need a high-frequency strategy and the courage to be authentically disruptive. Whether you are building a business, a career, or a portfolio, you must move toward the asset allocation that prioritizes independence over dependency. This is the iShowSpeed return on investment. It is the realization that a streamer can act as a lender of last resort, a geopolitical lever, and an architect of democracy all at once. The Caribbean tour was more than a series of viral clips. It was an economic blueprint for a world where the W belongs, which is to those who dare to own their story. As you look at or become a creator of an economy, the question isn't just how many subscribers do you have? The question is, what kind of world are you building with the attention you've earned? The legacy of the 2026 Caribbean tour isn't just the $5 million in travel bookings or the historic subscriber count. It is the proof that the script can be flipped. The Colonial and neo-colonial glass ceiling hasn't just been cracked, it has been shattered in a record speed time. And you are part of this, so